All right, spoiler version of the Queen's Shadow review. Now, this is your warning. It's already in the title of the video. You probably shouldn't watch this if, you know, you don't want to be spoiled for this book. So I do have a spoiler-free review. Also already uploaded to the channel, should already be uploaded as I'm editing this one. So there's only really a couple of things that I really want to add to my thoughts for Queen's Shadow. If you guys haven't watched that video, I love Padme. I've been waiting for a Padme-centric book for a very long time now, and we finally got it. And I mentioned in my spoiler-free review that there was an additional theme that I would like to go over, but I couldn't because it was a spoiler-free review. Well, that theme, to me at least, is the fear of failure and the impending mortality of the character of Padme. There is a very specific scene that, at least to me, was incredibly emotional, and that was a conversation in between Padme and Queen Breha Organa of Alderaan, the woman that would raise Padme's daughter. And there was just, yeah, that scene. I mean, if that was a scene in a TV show, if that was a scene in a movie, I would have started bawling right then and there, because there's just so much, there's so many double meanings in that conversation. The discussion about Breha's health and how she is in a hereditary monarchy, whereas Padme was from a democratic monarchy, which doesn't make any sense, but whatever, it's fine. There's the discussion about child rearing. There's the discussion about different belief systems, because Alderaan is completely pacifist, but they can afford to be completely pacifist because they're in the core, whereas in the mid-rim, Naboo would love to be pacifist, but they're in the mid-rim. And it just, that was a heavy-hitting scene in general, and that theme of the fear of failure and the knowledge that no matter what you do, it's really never going to be a permanent change. Or you might not even affect the change, but it's still worth trying. And that is, the very end of this book is an epilogue with Sabe on Naboo in Theed, just after Padme's funeral. And Sabe was sitting there sifting through all of Senator Amidala's notes, all of Padme's notes, and all of her plans and machinations, and how she wanted to guarantee personhood to the clones. Both, there are multiple different versions of the bill during, granting them personhood before the war ended, after the war ended, the, continued talk about, Padme's drive to rid the galaxy of slavery, of sentient being slavery. And it goes to show you exactly what could have been. And I feel like E.K. Johnston, because a huge portion of the fan base isn't happy, myself included, with the way Padme went out in episode 3. She should have stayed alive for a little bit longer. And I feel like E.K. Johnston's managed to turn that in a way that turns it into a positive lesson that what would have, instead of being upset that Padme died and being annoyed with George Lucas for just kind of discarding her once she was of no more use to his story, yes, he came up with the character and okay, whatever. But I'm no longer upset by it. I'm saddened that she died. I'm now mourning the character. I feel like now I want to mourn the character's death rather than mourn the potential storytelling, if that makes sense. I'm feeling like it's a death of a person as opposed to a messed up story. And I mean, there's so much in this book, no matter what your interest is. You're into the Clone Wars. Hi, Navi. If you're into the Clone Wars, there was a part in this book where I was like, okay, could we chill out on the Clone Wars characters? I get it. Like, okay, there's Bonteri, and there's, disembodied voice Dooku, and then there's Corvus, and okay. I know I got a little bit okay, but I'm also not. I like the Clone Wars, but I'm not a mega Clone Wars fan like even some of my close friends are. So, hey, awesome if you're into that and you want to see more conversations in between Padme and Lux Bonteri's mother. I can't remember her name now, but the previous senator from Onderon. Before Lux took over. If you're interested in how Qui-Gon is remembered on Naboo and how Padme remembers Qui-Gon as a character, that was fascinating. That Qui-Gon is considered a hero on Naboo. He died defending Naboo. And in effect, yeah, he kind of did. He died during the Battle of Naboo because of the Battle of Naboo, even if it was part of a larger galactic conflict in between, or the opening shots, I suppose, of a larger galactic conflict in between the Jedi and the dark side. He did die on Naboo because of the Battle of Naboo, so they see him as a hero, and that's very interesting. And there's just enough. I went into this book not wanting a single bit of Anakin. I don't want her to think about Anakin at all. But, honestly, it's right for her to think about it. I think twice or maybe 3 times she recalls fondly the funny little boy back on Mos Espa. And she even directs Sabe at one point to try and find and save Shmi in particular. And it's just like when she sees the Jedi Temple, when she first arrives on Coruscant after being assigned a senator, or being appointed senator, she instinctually grabs her Chapor snippet, the little bone carving thing that Anakin gave her in The Phantom Menace. And she thinks of him. And, that's acceptable to me. That's totally cool. And in addition to the theme of identity that I mentioned earlier and figuring out who you are, for me at least, I'm very interested in watching Attack of the Clones again very shortly, because there's certain retcon stands for recontextualization. And this is a retcon as in it didn't erase anything. It just changed the context of the thing. And I feel like a lot of Attack of the Clones, especially the love story between Anakin and Padme, are going to be very different for me after reading this book, because there's a lot of times where Padme is struggling with who she is as a person. And there's even a very direct message in, I can't remember it was one of the mid to late chapters of the book where she's discussing with herself, basically. It's in her monologue, basically, that in her thoughts that she's never going to be Padme Naberi again. She's going to always be Padme Amidala. She will be Senator Amidala, not Padme. If you think about it, she joined the junior legislative program when she was 8. And then she was in there until she was 14, and then she was elected Queen of Naboo, and she ruled the planet until she was 18, and then at 18 she becomes a senator. she didn't have a child. She didn't have a formative years, really. All of her formative years were doing incredibly immense, meaningful, responsible things. She never had a chance to, chase after a guy or, have real conversations about simple things with her teenage friends. I mean, she has an incredibly strong bond with her handmaidens, but they're doing a job. Even the handmaidens, they're doing a job. And she never really had a chance to grow up, so I feel like that mixes very well with the idea that Anakin was snatched up in a very, very interesting time in his own formative years when he was 9, and he he was a very emotional young child, and then all of his emotional growth becomes stunted because he's joined a celibate space monk religion. So I'm very much looking forward to reviewing Attack of the Clones again. And I think that's about it for my spoiler review. I don't think I've got too much more to add to it. Like I said, there's the spoiler-free review if you want me to go into more themes and just the overall feel of the book. But those are the interesting bits, interesting spoilers of the book that definitely stood out to me. What did you guys think about this book now that you've read it? Because in theory, you shouldn't have watched this video if you hadn't read it. Let me know down in the comments down below how you guys felt about it. And as always, may the Force be with you guys. Take care.